pretty privilege, the beauty premium. It's been termed all these different sorts of things. And there is a lot of research evidence to support it, that, the way that we look, our attractiveness, beauty makes a difference, particularly on those first impressions and decisions that are based on those first impressions. Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, it makes sense when there are these benefits to being beautiful, to being attractive. Of course, people want to do what they can to increase their pretty privilege. I think the danger of it is when we take that too far. So I think, it makes sense that, we want to put our best face forward and look as best as we possibly can. Often, particularly with people with body dysmorphic disorder that come in, they report those statistics to me, but people are more likely to get a job, or they're more likely to have satisfied blind dates. And that's why I need to be beautiful. And I think it can be taken to the extreme that, we need to strive for that beauty at all costs, that we sort of forget about other things that are important sometimes in the process. And that's the risk of it. And
So
certainly,
when you work with clinical patient, is that your end goal then? So not just in the BDD side, but if someone comes to you with just presenting maybe even light versions of that, is your goal to guide them towards greater self-confidence?
yes, absolutely. And aesthetic treatments can be one part of that journey as well. That can be one thing that you do that helps to increase your confidence. But I want to work with people to develop confidence that's balanced, that comes from the way that they look, that comes from their abilities, their relationships, that comes from an inherent sense of self-worth, that even if you have a bad body image day or a bad hair day, you're still a worthy person, you're still a good person. It doesn't mean you can't leave the house that day. And so getting your confidence from a range of sources is often what I want to work with people on.
I've got to jump in here and say something that I saw, and I would love your opinion on this. I saw um, the advancements in AI where AI had generated influencers, and they had set up social media accounts for these AI generated images of influencers, and they were kind of mid-journey. They walk, they talk, they were in social settings, they were in group settings, and it was indetectable whether they were real or AI generated. And they were some of the best looking men and women I have seen in my life. And I, knowing that I was looking at an AI generated image, I, as a nearly 50-year-old woman who is well versed in all of this, who attends these seminars, who speaks to professionals all the time for my job,
Mhm.
there was a part of my brain that coveted that appearance, that coveted that skin tone and quality, that beautiful hair, that
Mm.
perfect bone structure, that youthfulness. And I thought, oh, this is going to be really problematic, because it's one thing to want to emulate a social media influencer or an actor or an actress who is a real human being, but it is a whole other ball of dice to want to look like an AI generated perfect image. And it's here.
Yeah. Yeah. It scares me as well. I've also been seeing a few of those AI generated influences online, and it's terrifying. Yeah, that experience that you're talking about is so common when you're getting particularly non-surgical procedures where there's sort of repeated treatments or maintenance treatments over time. It's called perception drift, essentially. So you forget what you looked like when you started or before you started the journey. And so the first treatment you get, obviously you get the biggest difference because you go maybe from nothing or from a baseline to the improvement of the treatment. And that's where people have the biggest confidence boost, the biggest dopamine hit almost in the satisfaction.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. But then the next time, especially if it's a maintenance treatment, you don't want to get that big difference again the same time, because you don't want to make your appearance look drastically different every time you get the procedure. Because if you do, that's when you start to look a bit distorted or a bit strange, or you drift away from what you originally started with. So ideally your injector or whoever you're seeing is doing something quite subtle to maintain the results. So you don't see as big a difference. But the other thing that happens in your brain is your brain adjusts to your new appearance. And so that becomes the new normal. And so it's where that happens that we can see not just benefits for confidence, but also benefits sometimes for your professional life and your professional performance and your social life, because people feel like, I can be seen again, which I think is terrible from a society perspective, that people feel like they need to, and that we have that bias. But I do think that's something that these treatments gave to the people that we saw in the Merz confidence campaign, that it gave them that feeling of being visible again, or being able to put themselves out there again. And we see that in Just Like That as well, which is why I
Yeah,
love
very much so. Yeah.
that capability.
The other thing that I wanted to ask your opinion on, again, it comes from the videos that we watched at that presentation, is what happens when, we follow the journey of these people who are perhaps having these treatments for the very first time, and, they find that they are looking better. The thing that I thought was interesting, and definitely it plays with the conversations that I have with people my age, is in your head, often you feel a lot younger than maybe you're presenting to the world. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of people like to have the aesthetic procedures, but also will even dress a certain way or style their hair or makeup a certain way. And because they feel that there's an incongruence between how they feel in their heart and how they perceive themselves in their head and what the outside world sees. And I'm wondering, as a clinical psychologist, do you think that's an unhealthy chasm, or do you think that that's quite normal and nice to embrace?
I think it's a really normal thing. Like, whenever we have that incongruence in various areas of our life, if it's attractiveness, if there's a way we feel like we would like to look, or our ideal self that we're not living up to, it's natural that we look for ways to sort of narrow that gap and bring it back together again. So I think in that way, if you're feeling youthful and you're feeling, you feel like your appearance isn't reflecting that, of course, look for ways to bring that more congruence into your life, and to embrace the identity that you feel like you should have. I think, obviously everything can be taken to the extreme, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that, in wanting to look on the outside how you're feeling on the inside. I love that about the Merz campaign as well, because one of the main reasons they started this campaign, and Woodrow Wilson from Clinical Imaging was really passionate about it, was that, whenever you saw these before and after photos that were used in presentations and advertising, it was always stock photos of people who already looked quite perfect to begin with. And then it's like, well, you can't really tell the difference of what the aesthetic treatment did because they looked great. And this
Well,
was
they were
just
doctored. They were like fake photos where
exactly.
which was disgusting. So I'm actually thrilled that there's been some rules around that.
Yeah. And then in this campaign, what it was just showcasing normal, regular people wanting to look like a better version of themselves, not wanting to look like someone else. And I think that was really powerful, and seeing the impact that unique beauty for them could make a difference. It wasn't looking like an influencer or looking like a celebrity. It was just like, I just want to look like a better version of me. And I think, like what you're saying, if we can showcase that, if there are diverse ways to be beautiful, to be attractive, whatever that means for the individual, I think that's a really nice direction for the industry to go in. And you're
But we're
absolutely
all a bit like, no one is immune. And you have to be like in a pretty perfect state of mind always to push out all of this social messaging, all of this validation that you get externally. Um, you really have to be of extremely sound mind. And I don't know. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I definitely am not. A bad hair day can unravel a day for me, and that's the truth. I will, if I'm feeling really physically unprepared to face the world. Um, it's not going to be a great day to like host a podcast.
Well, your hair looks fantastic today.
Wow, that's why we're recording.
But yes, definitely. We all have those things. We all have those insecurities. But, I have days like that as well, where I look in the mirror and I can't find an outfit and I'm feeling insecure, and gets to the point where you've tried 20 different outfits on and you're like, oh, I don't even want to go anymore. It's not worth it. Yeah. And so we all have that. I think the extent of it when it comes to body dysmorphic disorder tends to be more extreme, because most people, in a kind of a healthy state of mind, you might say, yeah, I hate how my hair looks today, but I can't cancel all the events on that I have to do. So I'm just going to go anyway. I'm not going to feel great about my hair. It's a bad hair day, but I'm just going to get on with it. Whereas often with BDD, it's really hard to actually do that. It's, I can't leave the house today because of how it looks. So other things when it comes to that, perception drift and keeping yourself in check, I think is, when you're looking in the mirror after you've had treatments, trying to stand like an arm's length away from the mirror, not standing too close up. Because I think as soon as you stand close up and you start to scrutinize things, you start to identify little things that other people would never notice about you. And so, keeping a distance and keeping the amount of time you spend looking at yourself in check can also be helpful. So, being in the mirror for when you need to, if you're doing your hair, doing your makeup, but then apart from that, really trying to kind of set some limits on the amount of time you're spending just scrutinizing your appearance. Because if we look for it, we'll find anything to fix. And so step away from the mirror and rather engage with other things, be with your friends, be with your family, do things that you enjoy. And all of that can help broaden our confidence outside of our appearance as well.